In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, it is all about JaKobe Walter. James and I, James Barlowe, my brother, we are going to share our thoughts on JaKobe Walter, a guy that I have right now in my unreleased big board. I have him as a top 5 pick. So I'll find out where James has him, and also we'll share our thoughts on his draft range, what we like about him, and like we did yesterday, if he doesn't maximize his potential, what could be the reason? Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, with my brother, James Barlowe. And like I mentioned, we are going to talk about JaKobe Walter. But if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment. That is the best way to help us grow this channel, because I'm looking forward to this 23-24 season, which has already started, but I'm looking forward to this 2024 draft class. I tweeted yesterday that I'm actually really enjoying this draft class because it's so wide open. I love the challenge of trying to figure out who are the best 5 to 10 players in this class. Who is the guy that is going to be an all-star? And this class is wide open. So I want to hear your thoughts about this draft class before we talk about JaKobe.
For those same reasons that you mentioned, I like it too. It's like I'll check my Twitter timeline and I'll look at somebody's mock and I'll be like, I got him top 10 versus, and somebody else will have him like 25.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Like, I think it's good for dialogue. I think it's good, I mean, obviously for content, but like, I think you'll see this year which GMs, which front offices is really not say know what they're doing, because the draft is always a crapshoot, but like, let's see who really is elite when it comes to this scouting.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be a very interesting draft. Like I've seen a lot of the different big boards and mocks, and they're just all over the place. But one guy that is consistently rising compared to where he was back in August on like the way too early preseason big boards and mocks is JaKobe Walter. JaKobe's a kid from the Dallas area, played at Link Academy, played on a loaded high school team with Elliot Cadeau. I think Jordan Walsh was on his team the year before. I could be wrong, but he's played with a lot of talented players, and he's at Baylor, and he's off to a really good start to his career at Baylor. Had 28 points on opening night or his first college game against Auburn. He's really good. I like him. Like I said in the open, I have him as a top 5 pick right now. So I want to hear your thoughts on JaKobe Walter and what do you like about his game?
Well, like I mentioned to you off camera, like I'm buying him as definitely as a shooter for one.
Okay.
And I'm buying him as, this is not a slight, it's not a diss, don't take this the wrong way, JaKobe Walter camp as the safest pick in this draft. Okay. Because when you look at him, you know obviously what is going to translate, what does he do well, and you can build from there. And that is his shooting ability. Like his catching and shooting the ball is not going to be an issue. He already has NBA range. He's already comfortable shooting off of actions. So like I'm buying him as the safest pick in this draft.
The safest pick in the draft.
Yes, because again, if you look at, you know, can Sar develop? Is Sar's motor a full-time motor? Is Isaiah Collier shooting, is that real or is this a small sample size? And you could couple with that, his playmaking has, you know, been a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. Other guys. So it's like, when you look at JaKobe Walter, I know he can flat out shoot the basketball.
Yeah, and the numbers prove it. So far this season, through 6 games, he is shooting 42.9% from 3 on 5.8 attempts per game. That's a healthy sample size of at least attempts in a game. I mean, it's still a small sample size of games, but he is, again, 42.9% on 5.8 attempts per game. He's shooting 88.9. So he's averaging 17.8 points on, basically, I'm rounding up here, 47, 43, 89 shooting splits. He's also averaging 4.7 rebounds per game. So when you talk about him being safe, and you talk about you believe the shooting will translate, what type of player do you see him in the NBA? Do you see him as like a Klay Thompson, just kind of action shooter? I mean, it's hard to compare somebody to Klay.
Yeah, that's really tough.
But like, what role do you see him playing, or do you have like a comp or someone that is similar?
Well, when you look at the size and you look at the action shooting, I don't ever want to reach for the Splash Brothers, because like that's a crazy bar that we don't even know if we'll be able to reach again.
Yep.
But if you look at, and again, this is not a slight, but if you look at what KCP does, or even, matter of fact, KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, right? He's an action shooter. You run him off handoffs, he shoots. Catch and shoot, he shoots, right? And I want to say, let me pull up these numbers real quick before somebody takes this the wrong way, because Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in Detroit had a bigger workload, right? And that caused him to. Yeah, did he get somebody from Detroit?
No, he turned down. If I remember correctly, he turned down a bunch of money from Detroit to go to LA. You know, the word is he was the one from Clutch that had to test the waters for Bron to come. Mm-hmm. And then remember, the Lakers let him play while he was on house arrest. If I'm not mistaken, a little history fact for you. KCP was the first player to play on house arrest.
First player in the NBA. I done hooped with some dudes who had that Coney Island arthritis before too, so I won't give all the credit.
If you haven't seen He Got Game, then you totally missed that reference.
What's going on with you? But no, so like KCP in Detroit, his best year was like a 14.4 rebound guy, and he shot 6 threes a game. So it's like,
and that was before they was really like launching threes.
Exactly. So if you sit here and give JaKobe Walter that 2023, 2024 3-point shooting perk badge, whatever you want to call it,
bump,
yes, that makes him like what, an 18-point per game guy at the next level. Like, you'll absolutely take that. And I'm interested to see if his free throw rate.
He's shooting 6 per game right now.
But he gets fouled on a lot of jumpers and cuts.
Yeah.
So I want to see if that translates at the next level. But like right now, I see him as a knockdown shooter. We can run some action for him. Maybe we can run some pick and roll for him. We'll talk about that a little later, as far as like, what we want to see him get better at, or what is maybe putting a ceiling on his progression. But like the shooting, I believe, will translate, and he's a scorer as well, but the shooting will translate. And like I said, he should be like, again, a safe pick, meaning wherever he's drafted, he should fit in right away there, because he can shoot the basketball.
He can shoot, but he draws fouls at a high rate for a guy that you kind of label as a shooter. So for example, in the game where he had 28 points against Auburn, he went to the foul line 10 times. He had a game against Gardner-Webb, obviously not the strongest competition.
Where's Gardner-Webb at?
I think it's in Kansas somewhere.
That sounds about right.
He was 4 of 11 from the floor, but he was 6 of 9 from the foul line. Got to the line 7 times against Kansas City. Against Oregon State, which I thought was one of his better games, he had 24 points, but got to the foul line 6 times, was 7 of 13 from the floor, 4 of 8 from 3. And then he went to the foul line 4 times. So he is getting to the line. And it's not just against the money schools. He's getting to the line. When I say the money school, or the money games, where basically the smaller schools are getting paid a big bag to lose and just kind of be...
Some of them are not losing this year, though.
Some of them are, but basically they're just used for home games, and so the team can prepare for their schedule. But against the Power 5 schools, Auburn, Oregon State, and Florida State, he's gotten to the foul line. Florida, I'm sorry. He's gotten to the foul line 20 times in those 3 games. So he does know how to generate fouls, which, again, I think is very unique for a guy that you're kind of labeling as a shooter to be able to generate fouls. And that tells me he knows how to score when his shot isn't falling, which I think is very important.
So maybe it's better to say for I don't know who out there, like the KCP would be like a floor. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, that could be fair to say.
Yeah, and you'll take a KCP floor if you ignore where he may potentially be drafted and just like his overall 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Because, I mean, KCP's won 2 championships?
Yeah.
He won 2 titles. Key part, I mean, big shots. Kind of wild on the fast break, but maybe JaKobe's not like that. So,
all right, when we return, we are going to talk about best fits. We're going to talk about areas that we would like to see him improve on and just talk about his overall draft range. Stay tuned. Before we get into the second segment, I want to talk to you about our partners at eBay Motors. And the reason I'm excited about eBay Motors is because they have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. So whether you are prepping for daily draft scouting or searching for players on the waiver wire, every week Locked On is going to promote players that are going to provide you with the best fit for your team that can help you win your fantasy championship. So let's see who Josh has picked for this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. Jaden Ivey from Detroit. His level of play has improved since joining the starting lineup, and with the Pistons going nowhere fast, they are surely going to invest in Jaden Ivey. Another pick is Al Horford. He only played one more game this week, but with Kristaps Porzingis out, Horford will get a bump in his production. And then there's Gordon Hayward. If Hayward was dropped, he should be grabbed right now because LaMelo is out with an ankle injury, so there's going to be more time for Gordon Hayward. And then Saddiq Bey. Saddiq Bey has been elevated to the starting lineup with Jalen Johnson out, and he should be serviceable for your fantasy team. And then there's Scoot Henderson. Got off to a rocky start, which has been covered here on Locked On NBA Big Board. But Scoot is back, and he does provide some value, and the minutes are going to rise because the Blazers are going nowhere. So if you can afford some bad games, then Scoot is worth grabbing. So Josh Lloyd and the Locked On NBA Big Board team, we are going to help you win your fantasy championship, and eBay Motors knows all about how a championship team is all based on the perfect fit, and it is the same with your vehicle. So with over 122 million parts to choose from, and with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, it is guaranteed to fit your ride the very first time, or you will get your money back. So go to eBay Motors and try out their Guaranteed Fit. It's only available for U.S. customers. Eligible items only and exclusions apply, but go to eBay Motors. Locked On has launched the first ever 24/7 streaming channel, and it is on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On and our national shows. You have to check it out. I mean, you have to check it out. History is being made here on the Locked On channel. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe for the first ever 24/7 national streaming channel. Check it out. Once again, thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, with my brother James Barlowe. The first segment, we talked about what we like about JaKobe Walter. We talked about his ability to generate fouls and his scoring and his three-point efficiency. But now I want to talk about his draft range. I have him inside my top 5 right now. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you think he's the safest pick in the draft. So yes. With that being said, where would you take him, or what is your draft range?
I would take him. I have him right now probably at 3, but I don't see him falling past.
Copycat. Man, there's nothing wrong with being a copycat if you copy the right cat.
Man, look. Anyway, I don't see him falling past 5. 3 to 5 to me. And again, there is a solid foundation of what he is. And if you dig deeper into the film, maybe there's more to his game. And I think that like the whoever picks him will see that, okay, he has a little bit more than what we've seen at Baylor. And then it will make sense, take him 3, 4, 5. So
yeah, I want to touch on that. If you look at the numbers, he's averaging 0.7 assists per game.
That's wild.
And he's someone that...
Hold on. He had all his assists in one game. All 3 of them.
No, he had 1 assist against John Brown.
Who?
John Brown.
Wasn't he catching slants for the Ravens a few years ago?
I don't know. I never heard of John Brown until Baylor played them. And that was a game where he only scored 7 points. He had his worst game. But, I mean, I'm sure that was probably not a game to kind of get up for. But anyway, yes, he had 3 assists against Oregon State. He also had 4 steals that game. But I do think he is a better passer than the numbers indicate. And we have roasted players for having low assist numbers. Dalton Connect was a guy.
My man Tyon Grant had 2 next game.
Yeah, so we roasted guys for low assist numbers, and we got to keep it consistent.
How do you have 3 assists in how many games? That 6?
6 games.
How? Oh no! How do you
4
have
assists? Don't take away his 1 assist against John Brown.
How do you have 4 assists? How do you have 0 assists in 4 games is the better question, because he got them all in 2 games. Like, how? How do you not?
If I knew, I would tell you, because coming into this season, I thought passing was one of his strengths, especially as like a 6'5" scorer, shooting guard. He wasn't a guy that just had tunnel vision. I thought at the very minimum, he could serve as a ball mover. But I do think that he has some passing instincts. I do think that down the line, just based off of what I saw in high school, that he is someone that is going to be able to develop into somewhat of a playmaker.
You see, excuse me, if I saw that playmaker, and it's early, it's not even December, right? But if I see that playmaking from him, just the glimpses that we saw at Link, like, I would have no issue in this draft taking him 1 or 2. Like, to me, that's the biggest thing that's holding him back. It's like, I want to see him pass and make plays, not just. And again, it's coupled with, and I understand, like, especially at Baylor, because they're going to use you how they need you, right?
Yep.
They have a history of that. But like, I guess since we're here, like, I want to see what he looks like in pick and roll, and can he make plays? Like, if he showed me that, I would have no issue taking him 1 or 2 in this draft, depending on who has the top 1 or 2 picks.
All right, so let's just talk about best fit.
Okay.
What team right now that you think is projected to be in that top 5 or early lottery range would be the best fit for JaKobe Walter?
Detroit.
Oh yeah,
that's a layup right there.
All right, so if he's at Detroit, let's say there's a way that Detroit's roster stays the exact same right now.
Okay.
And I agree, Detroit needs shooting bad. Like, they need shooting like I need my next breath.
Hey.
Where does he come in and start? Like, where does he fit into their rotation?
Detroit is on pace to win how many games? 12? Something like that? You got to start him, because what we doing
Who's coming out?
Ivy. I'm taking Ivy off the bench, or whoever they're playing at the 2. So, look. K1, whatever. 1, K at the 1. Give me JaKobe Walter at the 2. All right. Asur at the wherever you need to move him at. Right.
Speaking of that, you said you want Isaiah Stewart to be the floor space. I saw a game. Was it last night? He was 1 for 7 from 3.
Man, look, that's what they pay him to do, man.
No, man.
He's the backup 5 to me. But hey, how many? Detroit needs 2 picks. They need JaKobe Walter. Right, and they need to move whatever mountains they need to move to get Tyler Smith. And we figured out all that floor spacing. Do they got 2 picks in this draft? Please tell me they got 2 picks in this draft.
I know they have all their picks, but nope, they don't have 2 first-round picks.
Troy Weaver, you need to make that happen. Because look, now K's efficiency goes up.
I saw a rumor, Bogdanovich for Fournier and a first-round pick.
That would help you out in the short term, because then the Knicks have what?
Right now, well, the Knicks have 2 picks.
22. Allegedly.
They have their own pick, and they have the Mavericks pick.
Okay, so Tyler Smith might be available, or you can move around to make that happen. So again, if Troy calls me up and he asks, "Yo, James, what you thinking?" That's what I'm thinking. So I feel like JaKobe Walter in Detroit is seamless. Like, sign me up right now, because like I said. JaKobe, Asur, Isaiah Stewart, whatever you got to do, shoot them threes, bruh, and then Duran, and now like you've cleaned up that muck right?
Yep.
The screenshots of Cade hooping in the phone booth don't exist anymore. And if JaKobe Walter isn't a playmaker, like he doesn't necessarily have to be one next to Cade and
Thompson
and Sir Thompson.
I like,
you dig it? You feel me?
All right, give me another team that could use JaKobe Walter that is projected to finish at the top half of the lottery.
The top half, again, Chicago. Once you blow it up, you got to take the best player available.
I mean, you can plug Chicago for every time we do
Chicago's
this.
everywhere.
Yep.
Okay. I'm Washington. Like, why not? You know, because again, what do you have to lose? We're trying to draft the best player available, and again, if he starts to show some court vision, he gets rid of that whatever year Michael Vick Madden vision where he only sees the rim. Like, yeah, you rock with that. San Antonio, I'm not turning anybody down.
Okay.
You know,
what about Memphis?
See, this is my thing with Memphis. Like, on paper, adding another shooter would be great, but I don't know who guards threes with him and Desmond Bane.
Yeah, I mean,
that would be my issue as far as starting. Now, again, if you don't want to say he's your starter, if you want to say him, you don't want to feed him that kind of. Actually, you know what? Because they got Smart, so Smart can guard threes. I'd still take JaKobe, right, and bring him off the bench, and then that way you can stagger his minutes with whoever you decide to keep in between Morant and Marcus Smart, because Marcus Smart can guard threes.
Yeah. What about Charlotte? You get Rozier out the paint. You get Hayward out the paint. You got Brandon Miller. You got JaKobe Walter. You like that?
So you saying LaMelo,
JaKobe, B. Miller, Miles, who looks like he's going to be there, and Mark Williams.
I can rock with that. That works for me. Do you think Charlotte is going to be that bad, though?
I don't know.
LaMelo just got hurt, and they may say, yo, chill, bro. You ain't got to rush back.
I think there's pressure on the coaching staff and the front office to win games. So,
from who?
I mean, the fan base. I mean, if you're going to bring back Miles Bridges and you're going to take the point. PR hits, you got to win.
Yeah, that's and they were trash until he started playing.
Yep. All right, when we return in the last segment, we're going to talk about what if JaKobe Walter doesn't maximize his gifts? What are the concerns? I shouldn't say gifts. If he doesn't maximize his full potential, and let's say he's the number 3 pick, and he doesn't become like a multi-time all-star,
fringe all-star, because like it's really stop. I'm sorry, brother, but like the CJ McCollum could be all-star because that's hard to.
But if CJ was at number 3, I think people would be more critical of him if he was the third pick and he didn't make the all-star team. So we're going to find out what will be the concerns that will prevent JaKobe Walter from maximizing his potential. Stay tuned. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers are heating up at FanDuel. If you are a new customer, right now, if you are a new customer, you get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That is $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is not a better time than to do it. Not now, but right now. The app is easy to use. It is very simple, and there is a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, overs, unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to kick off the NFL season. That is FanDuel.com/LockedOn, LOCKEDON, and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL and Locked On. All right, last segment. What would be your biggest concerns for JaKobe Walter? Like if you were to take him at number 3,
okay,
what would be the one reason why you would be a little hesitant or concerned about this not happening, which could prevent him from maximizing his potential?
If he is just an off-the-ball scorer that doesn't make plays for other people, then you could sit here and say, why? That didn't work out the way that I thought it would work out. Mm-hmm. So again, we go back to his Link Academy tape, and we saw some playmaking. We saw some passing ability there. But for whatever reason, we don't see that. And maybe he's just about a bucket. Maybe Coach Drew was like, yo, just go shoot. Like,
because they got the two the two Jaden Nunn, RJ Dennis. So they're handling a lot of the ball handling duties, and it looks like he's just free to come off screens and action plays and shoot. They're not really asking him to do much. It's almost like they're playing him, in my opinion, I could be wrong here, in a Klay Thompson type role, where we don't know if Klay has more to his bag as far as passing, because we'll probably never see him outside of Golden State.
That's fair, but I just feel like even in this draft, that it's an open draft, to take somebody that high that only does one thing on offense at 6'5". Now again, the foul drawing is great.
The rebounding is
very good. But like, I just wish that he was more of a playmaker. And then like, they're not using him to come off of pick and rolls at Baylor. So it's like, if he just checked that one box, which is a really big box, because again, if this was the Rip Hamilton era, oh man, do what you got to do. You come off floppy all day and shoot threes. But this is not the Rip Hamilton era. So it's like, to take a guy who may not be a 25 point per game guy, you know what I'm saying, and isn't a playmaker, maybe you sit here and say, that didn't work out the way that you wanted it to.
All right, I got a question. It's going back to what we talked about in the first segment. In a wide open draft, that's wide open, would you play it safe or would you take the higher upside?
Me?
James Barlowe.
I am an upside guy.
So who? All right. So if you have him third,
right,
who would be the guy that you think has a potential higher upside? That is a more so swing for the fences guy that you would possibly take over.
So going into this draft season, the preseason, like I was ready to anoint Stephon Castle as like the best talent in this draft, right? Checking the boxes of passing, scoring, playmaking. He checked a lot of boxes, but he's not playing right now. So again, I want to make
he's supposed to come back, from what I heard, soon. They said it was 3 to 4 week injury, minor procedure is what we heard, and I've heard the target date is first week of December.
So like, to me, Stephon Castle has ultimate upside in this draft. Someone that I swing for the fences on, because there's things that I've seen, there's plays that I've seen him make, passes, reads at 6'5" that nobody else is making, right? So, and I'm buying his change of speed and his, like, I know some people knock him for not being fast.
I'm about to say, what speed is he? I think he has pace, but I don't think
change of speed. I don't care about you being a blur, because again, this is not a track meet. Like, we're playing in a confined area sometimes. You don't need to be super fast, and I feel like he has the change of pace. But like, so as far as like upside, like that would be somebody I swing for, or even like, okay, Alexander Starr, he has tremendous upside, because you're talking about a guy that's 7 foot, that's fast, should be able to block shots and rebounds, potentially make jumpers, potentially play with his back to the basket. So, but again, does that answer your question?
No, but if a team was playing it, if you were playing it safe, you would go JaKobe.
Yes,
JaKobe
if I was
Walter.
playing it safe, I would go JaKobe. If I was like, you know what, man, the difference between the 3rd pick and the 10th pick doesn't mean anything.
Not in this draft.
And if I see what I thought I saw in Castle, then I might reach for Castle.
All right, last question.
Go ahead.
What do you want to see him, talking about JaKobe Walter, what do you want to see him improve on between now and the end of the season?
So obviously it's the playmaking. I want to see him finish at the rim better. I need to pull up the numbers, but it just eye test just from watching some film. He's very much an average athlete.
Yeah, the finishing at the rim is average right now, especially in the half court.
Yeah, and I want to see that. Now, again, he has the touch to have a great floater, but ultimately, like, him getting to the rim, he's getting to the rim at Baylor. I want to see him finish better at the rim. So yes, finishing at the rim, playmaking. I see those things. We locked in at 3.
All right, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. This was the JaKobe Walter episode. We're going to do these throughout the season. I think it's great content in a sense because it gives us a full 30-ish minutes to talk about a player. We're not rushing multiple prospects into an episode. I mean, we're still going to do our episodes where we're talking about what happened and different game breakdowns and so on. But I want to do, if all works out, between 60 to 100 of these episodes throughout the year. We have plenty of time. We have all the way.
We got plenty of guys to look at.
This draft is wide open. Once again, thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Rafael. He's James. And we are out.